Hello and welcome back. In this video, we will be discussing CSS and how to use it. Alright, let's get started. So first of all, I want to show you a really useful tag that is going to be used a lot during the series, and that is going to be the div tag. What are divs? Well, divs are kind of like containers for your code, so you can keep them in a nice and organized fashion. So you can for example, you have a div that has maybe your links and stuff. Maybe you can have a div that is maybe for your main content. And then you can have a div that is for maybe your footer. While all of this is nice, in this tutorial we're only going to need one div, and this div is going to be empty. So since this video is about style sheet, CSS and style sheets, I'm going to open up the style.css. Before we can do that, we have to remember that we have to link this file to the HTML. It's not just going to magically link itself to the HTML. How do we do this? Well, somewhere at the top, we're going to use a link tag. So I can end it like that. Tags can be ended using this sort of way. So instead of doing it the way we have here, where we have one line that's for creating the div, and another one for ending it, you can do it all in the same line. So you just have to specify the name, so greater than sign, name, then we put a slash, and then less than sign. And now we have to specify a few attributes. So rel is going to equal to style sheet. I think this is just specifying the type of the file we're trying to import, or how this file should be used. Yeah, I think that's what it means. So this is how the file should be used. Next we have type. This is the actual type of the file itself. This is going to be text slash then CSS, because this is going to be a text file and add to .css, so we gotta put CSS there. And then href. Href is going to specify the link or the location of the CSS. So in this case, it's going to be style.css. So if I rerun this, the page is going to be completely empty because we have basically no content other than these two other than these two elements on screen. So let's actually do some styling. So how do you do that? Well, we first gotta open up the style.css, obviously, and we can begin. So in CSS, we have these things called selectors. And what selectors do are that they select certain elements on a screen. For example, let's say you want to select every single div on the screen. Then we'll use the div selector. Then we'll put two curly braces, which you can use on your keyboard by pressing the shift and then the square braces, and then I'm pressing enter. Since I'm using what's called Replit, it's going to automatically format this for me. But if you're using like your normal text editor like Notepad, for example, you'll probably end up with something like this. What you have to do is press enter here, and then press the tab key on your keyboard. So now we connect the styling. So inside CSS, what we do is that we use this. We have properties. So what are properties? Well, properties are kind of like selectors for the selector, if you get what I mean. So I think it'll be way better explained if I wrote it out. So I wanted to change the width. I'm going to type in width, semicolon, and then whatever I want the width to be, maybe 50 pixels, and then semicolon. So this is the property name, and this is what we're going to change about this div. Then we're going to put a semicolon, and we're going to specify any sort of values that this property needs to take, and then put a semicolon to say, okay, this is the end of the line. So now if I rerun this, we won't see anything because the div has the exact same background color as the web page, so we won't be able to see anything. So let's change that. Another property that we can use is background color. So we can see in this list down here, background color. And what do we want to make the background color? Maybe I'll make it red. So I put red in there and then put a semicolon. Now if I rerun this, we still won't see anything. Maybe it's just because, I think it's because the width, not the width, the height is set to 0, so we won't be able to see anything. So let's make the height 50 pixels, make it a square. So I'll rerun that, and now we have a red square on the web page. Okay, but now there's one problem with this. This is going to apply to every single div on the page. Let's say I wanted this div down here to be blue. And if I rerun this, well, now we have two red divs, which kind of look like they're combined to make one big red rectangle. Now, we don't want this. So what we can do is use the class attribute. And what this class does, it kind of gives this like a name that we can reference in the CSS. So let's say I want this to be red, and I want this one to be blue. So then class equals blue. If I rerun this, totally nothing changes. However, I can then do what I need to do with these classes. So we can get rid of this, and now we have to figure out a selector. So what the selector for classes are is a dot, and then the class name. In this case, it's going to be red. And then we're going to put two curly braces, and now we can modify whatever we want about this red div. So I can say, so we want to change the background color, so I'm going to say background color, then red, and then the same thing for blue. So I'll use dot blue, two curly braces, then background color, blue. Now if I rerun this, we now have two divs, one that is red and one that is blue. But now let's say we don't want every single div to be a square. Let's say I want to modify something else, like maybe like the padding around it, for example. Well, we don't need to specify every single div to do that. What we can do is that in here, we can specify another class just by using a space. So I want to give this square, and this one could be a square. Or maybe, just for variety, we'll make this one a circle. I'll show you how to make a circle. So if we rerun this, we will now see completely nothing because we haven't styled this. So we can leave these. Now for square, we already know how to create a square. We have to give it a, we have to give it an equal width and height. So we can say width 50 pixels, height 50 pixels. And if I rerun this, now we have the red square. But now you might be asking, how do you create a circle? So since circles have no sort of fixed width and height, we actually have to specify that on our own. So we have to set the, I'll show you what we have to do. So we have to set the width to maybe 50 pixels, and then the height to 50 pixels. But another thing we have to do is set border radius. What border radius does is that it specifies how rounded the element is. So for border radius, you want the value that you want to pass in is 50 rem or rem. Now if I run this, we have a red square and a blue circle. Now let me show you why we need to specify an equal width and height. Let's say I want to make this with 70 pixels. Just can you take a guess what will happen? Here, I'll run it. Okay, looks like it's taking a while to load. Okay, there. So you see, like, now it's all stretched out. So if you want to make a circle, you have to give it an equal width and height. Now if I change this back to 70 pixels, now we just have a bigger circle. So that is pretty much the basics of CSS. In the next video, I'll be showing you some basic stuff that you can do with JavaScript. There's going to be a lot of JavaScript, so make sure you're subscribed for that video, and I'll catch you in the next video. Goodbye.